Welcome back. You are locked into the sounds of the Gaffer by now. You know who we are, you know what we do. Now, a bit of a different one today. I've been talking about this for a while, but over the weekend, we had Marvel's presentation at San Diego Comic Con, the big show in Hall H. Not a lot of people can get in there, so it's up to the rest of us to try and scrounge the information from where we can. And try and piece together and get the news as best we can without being in the room, because only 6,000 people can be in the room. But that is the topic and the only topic for this edition, the first edition of the movie news. It's actually been quite a slow week or two in terms of movie news. Not much has been happening. You've got the Odyssey coming out, smashing the box office to pieces, as a lot of people predicted. Some people not too happy about that, but I'm afraid good sense always prevails. So yeah, there's not actually been much to talk about other than what took place over the weekend. Now I know this channel probably seems like it's just Marvel, 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 bit of DC, Marvel, 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 but that's what's happening at the moment. Obviously, in future when other stuff happens, I will talk about other films. There's plenty of better films, but plenty of good films, different types of films coming down the line. But you can call this a Marvel Comic Con special if you like. But yeah, so this is the movie news for this week. So, as I said, we had San Diego Comic Con, the big Comic Con on the west coast of America. Massive convention. Well over 100,000 people descend on the city of San Diego in July every year to go to this con. Obviously, if you've been to Comic Con, you know it's more than just talking about movies. It's obviously talking about comics because it's Comic Con. There's all sorts of stuff. There's stands you can go and meet writers, artists, and all sorts of people. Even actors do little stands there, both big actors and small actors. You can go and meet them, and there's all sorts of stuff going on. And it's a great place to go. People dressed up. It's a really good vibe. Just a load of nerds all together in one place, which is it's what we like. Everyone in their natural habitat. But what also happens, it's been the trend for the last, I don't know, but over 10 years, where big studios, mainly sort of studios who make, I don't know, fantasy and sci-fi and comic book movies or TV shows, come and do panels and presentations in the main presentation hall, otherwise known as Hall H. There's been some massive shows in there over the last few years. I mean, only 2 years ago, they came out there and announced Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom on stage, and the place exploded. I mean, before that, you had the actual announcements of Infinity War in it, and the slates. They would post those timelines. You've probably seen those, loads of stuff. DC used to turn up there back in the Zack Snyder days when they first announced Batman versus Superman. That announcement video, if you haven't seen that, please go on YouTube after you've watched this. Go on YouTube, type in Batman v Superman Comic Con announcement. It is epic. And the place just explodes. And obviously, most of us will probably never get to go and experience it in person, but we all get to hear the news and see the clips and stuff afterwards, which is always a fun time. It's always a good time of year when these clips start coming out. So no DC this year. DC didn't come. James Gunn decided not to come. Personally, I don't agree with that decision. I think in the place that they're in, it's a new universe, fledgling universe. You want to start drumming up some hype and connecting with the fans a little bit. They decided not to do that. Don't know why, but obviously that's their choice. There's a reason they do their job and I don't. There's a reason I'm not the CEO of a studio and they are. So they decided not to. Unfortunately, it would have been cool to see them, see what they've got coming up, but we didn't see them this time. But what we did have was Marvel Studios. So as usual, Kevin the Iceman Feige comes out on stage with his bespoke hat on as usual. I think the first thing they talked about was like comics and comic books, as you would, when you're Marvel Comics. So talking about comics and I think maybe X-Men 97 a little bit, animated show. And then they swiftly moved on to the first movie that they were going to talk about, which is obviously what we are here for. And the first movie they were talking about was Endgame Encore. For those of you that don't know, that is a re-release of Avengers Endgame that's coming out in September. They're basically re-releasing Endgame in the lead up to Doomsday to kind of get some hype going, because they've been saying that Doomsday is a sequel to Endgame as opposed to the finale of what's been going on for the last God knows how many years. I mean, 7 years. It's a direct sequel to Endgame. So what they've done is they're re-releasing it, probably to boost them box office numbers. Maybe try and leapfrog Avatar one last time and take the top spot on the box office chart, the all-time box office chart, because there's not a big gap between those two movies. And yeah, so they're re-releasing that. Obviously, there's not a lot of new stuff they can show there, and I don't think they did. I think he's kind of talked about what Endgame meant, you know, what an experience it was back then, and it was, in 2019 when we all went to the theater and saw what we saw in that movie, coming off the back of Infinity War. It was incredible. So I think a few, some people are quite excited about that. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people turn out to go because it was a good experience last time. However, they have said that there's new footage in the film, so you could call it a bit of an extended cut. So there's probably some extra footage they shot for Endgame that didn't quite make the final cut that's going to be in the movie. However, there are rumblings that there may be some stuff from Doomsday or directly relating to Doomsday in the movie. Now, I don't know whether that'll be in the movie, in the middle of it, at the start, at the end. I don't know. The more likely possibility is that there's a pretty meaty post-credit scene at the end where maybe we see Doctor Doom do something, perhaps. But yeah, so there's going to be, it's Endgame re-release, which is going to be cool. So that's always going to be a fun experience seeing that on the big screen again. But there is new footage that we didn't have last time. So that could be deleted scenes. We've all seen some of that stuff off the special features, some deleted scenes, but there also could be some footage from Doomsday, which would be really cool. I'm not going to lie, because I'm probably going to go and see it anyway. I'm not big on re-releases, but for this one, I would probably go. But also, if there's going to be some new stuff that might, lead into the big one in December, I'm all here for it. They showed a trailer for Endgame Encore. They did show a trailer, but the word is that there was none of the new footage was in that. So it was a new trailer for Endgame, but just had stuff from all in them, because obviously the original trailers for Endgame, they couldn't give anything away, so they only used the first 20 minutes of the movie in the trailers. So yeah, that's Endgame Encore. Pretty simple, re-release some new footage. Looking forward to that. So now that's out of the way, this is probably the bomb that they were going to drop this time round. This was quite a short presentation, so there's not actually as much in this as there has been in the past. They've done some big shows and dropped some big announcements. This one was only a couple, but this one that they dropped after Endgame Encore was pretty serious. So, Kevin Feige was talking with a podcast host who was sat in the audience, and they were having a bit of a joke about Ghost Rider. And there's been a lot of talk for years and years about Ghost Rider coming to the MCU and who's going to play him. I think there was talk of Norman Reedus. I don't know if you know Daryl from The Walking Dead, long hair, crossbow. That was a fan cast for quite a while. I would have been on board with that, by the way. I would have been way on board with that. There was talk of also Keanu Reeves for a long time. Now, I would have been on board with that. Let me tell you, I would have been all over that. And if I had to pick one, it would probably have been him, even over the person they did choose to play him. Even though I've got no problem with the choice. I quite like the choice they went with, but Keanu Reeves would have been my pick, because that would have just been cool, man. John Wick in a leather jacket with a skull, and mate, I would have been so down. So like I said, this has been going on for years and years and years. They were talking about Ghost Rider. Maybe is it gonna happen? Is it not? So, as he was having his little exchange with the podcaster talking about Ghost Rider, the lights go down, and on the screen pops up the Ghost Rider logo. Ghost Rider with the little Marvel Studios graphic on top. And if that wasn't enough, when the lights come back on, who is stood on the stage but Ryan Gosling? Ryan Gosling, Ken, or is he called Grace from Project Hail Mary? I don't know. But there he is, stood on stage, and that announces that Ryan Gosling is going to be playing Ghost Rider releasing in 2028. So they have a bit of an exchange. Ryan Gosling's there. He's actually been one of the fan castings for many years about a Ghost Rider. And he's actually grown on me a lot in the last few years as like a, not just as an actor. He's always been a good actor. He's always been good in comedies and stuff, but in as someone who can carry kind of like bigger, epic sort of projects, or like fantasy kind of projects. Um, so yeah, I'm okay with it. Like I said, I would have liked Keanu Reeves, but just getting Ghost Rider anyway is a sick character. I'm actually a fan of the Nicolas Cage ones back in the day. I haven't seen them in a long time, so maybe that's me with my how I saw it as a kid back then, and maybe it's not as good. Maybe it doesn't hold up so well now, but I like those movies, and I think he'll be a really cool addition to the MCU. And Ryan Gosling at the moment can't do any wrong for me. Um, Everything he's been in the last few years, I've loved. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. But that wasn't all. They talked about the director who's going to direct this thing. Who do you get to direct the Ghost Rider? I don't really know. To be honest, if you'd have asked me who would you want to direct Ghost Rider, I don't really know. Um, you could have had maybe like a David Leitch from Bullet Train, and he did a bit of work on the John Wick movies. Yeah, but other than that, I don't really know. Um, However, Ryan Gosling, over the last year or so, has been shooting another film for Disney, for a different studio, but still for Disney. And that film is called Star Wars Starfighter. And we don't know much about the movie yet. We know a few of the castings, particularly Ryan Gosling, and we know the director, and that director is Sean Levy, who also directed Deadpool and Wolverine for Marvel Studios and also for Disney. Kevin Feige went on to say that he has been and he has seen Star Wars Starfighter, or whatever cut they have of Star Wars Starfighter. And clearly he was very impressed because he has now chosen Sean Levy to direct Ghost Rider with Ryan Gosling as the lead, which is exactly the same pairing as Star Wars Starfighter. So he must have been impressed when he saw that, because he's thought, I'll have that. And that also means Disney were impressed as well, because they said, hold on, we'll have that. There we go. We got there in the end. um, yeah, so listen, I mean, Sean Levy's done a lot of good work. He makes a specific type of film. So, like, I don't know, some of his other work would be like Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. That's quite a sort of, bombastic kind of happy-go-lucky, doesn't take itself too seriously film. Deadpool and Wolverine obviously was what Deadpool and Wolverine was. I can't remember if Sean Levy, he did a film called Real Steel with Hugh Jackman. I don't know if anyone remembers that, with like these like robots that box. It was so cool. So he's made a lot of cool movies, and he makes, like I said, he makes a certain type of movie. Doesn't take itself too seriously. So I guess that's the kind of thing we can expect from Ghost Rider. Maybe I would have preferred someone who might go with a bit more of a hardcore tone, like maybe the tone of like Blade back in the day with Wesley Snipes. But I'm okay with it. Like I said, I'm okay with it. I like Ryan Gosling and I like Sean Levy. I like Deadpool and Wolverine, and I like a lot of other films Sean Levy's done. So yeah, I'm okay with it. Is it the people who I would have picked? Probably not. But also, again, there's a reason I am not the president of Marvel Studios, and Kevin Feige is. So I think he knows what he's doing. But yeah, Ryan Gosling finally coming to the MCU, directed by Sean Levy. So let's see how it goes. 2028, that's coming out 2 years away. Not even that long. I mean, no, not even 2 years. Well, probably will. Probably be somewhere midway through the year. So about 2 years from now. Not actually that long when you think about it, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I've been pretty keen to see Ghost Rider for a while. It might not be the Ghost Rider I expected to see, but I'm here for it. And that was definitely a big moment in Hall H. That got a big reaction from the crowd, as you would expect. So yeah, we're pretty happy with that. So with that one out of the way, that was Ghost Rider. The next one was obviously the biggest project they've got coming out soon, was Avengers Doomsday. Obviously, it's a big topic of conversation in the movie space. Avengers Doomsday. There's a lot of talk about, is it going to be good? Is it not going to be good? No one really knows, because like I said, I'm the same. A lot of people are the same. I've kind of fallen off the Marvel train in the last few years. I said the same thing in the the Avengers, the Doomsday trailer reaction that I did the other day, which you can find on this channel. Keep watching this video. Don't click off it. Once you finish this one, you can go and find the Doomsday trailer reaction on this channel. Yeah, so I've kind of fallen off the train over the last few years because the films haven't been hit. They've been too hit and miss. Like you'd have to watch 3 pretty poor movies just to get one banger or one good movie. You know, it just hasn't been doing it for me, man. And then they kind of picked up the pace a little bit. Thunderbolts was really good. Fantastic Four was quite good. And yes, you know, we haven't had anything since then. We're about, obviously, to get Spider-Man. Good reviews. Very excited about it. Trailers, sick. So, you know, I'm getting back on the hype train, and I think some other people are as well. But yeah, obviously they were going to do a big segment about Doomsday. They didn't really tell us anything we didn't already know. You know, they got the cast out. There's, you know, cast all over the stage. They actually had multiple stages with different teams on. I don't think every single member of the cast was there, but a lot of people there. Obviously, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans were there. I don't think Chris Hemsworth was there. But you had, you know, Anthony Mackie, James Marsden was there. A good number of the Thunderbolts were there. I can't remember who else now. You had, what's her name? Letitia Wright, Shuri, Winston Duke. So like Black Panther people. Sure, Pedro Pascal was there. He's always there. Now, there was one person who I personally, and I don't think anyone else did, knew was in the movie, was Hayley Atwell, who is Peggy Carter, Captain Carter, all of the above. So I didn't know she was going to be in the movie, and she was there. So I'm guessing that's them announcing that she's in the movie. I don't know whether she's going to just be Peggy Carter or if she's going to be Captain Carter as well. I don't know. Obviously, if Steve's back in it, that's his missus, so it would be natural for her to be in it as well. So it'd be interesting to see what role she plays. I don't really know. Just speculating at this point. But yeah, other than that, they didn't really announce any other big cast members that I know of. That was the main one where people were like, huh, I didn't realize she was in the movie. But yeah. However, something did happen. Robert Downey Jr., Dr. Doom himself, was sort of stood on the stage and was looking down at somebody and was like, oh, wait, sorry, did you want to ask a question? And then when the camera panned over, it was Deadpool. It was Ryan Reynolds in full Deadpool costume, stood in the crowd doing what Deadpool does. And he gets the mic and asks a question and whatever, and they have a little back and forth, and he even sort of hints at maybe them letting him be in the movie, and they were like, oh no, we've already shot the movie. For me, that kind of says that he's in the movie if he was there. Yeah, so we can expect to see Deadpool in the movie. I think that's pretty cool, or a Deadpool, don't know which one. Weirdly, he was wearing a grey Deadpool suit, which I've not seen before. I don't think it was in any of the Deadpool movies. So that might be a comic book thing. I personally don't know. I'm not an expert on the comics. I know a bit, but I'm not an expert. So I couldn't really tell you what that was about. But he was there and they had a little exchange and it was funny, whatever. So that tells me that Deadpool is going to be in the movie. What it doesn't tell me, but it makes me think that Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is also coming back. Now, I've always thought this ever since we knew X-Men people were going to be in the movie. I was like, you can't have James Marsden as Cyclops. What's her name? Storm or why am I freezing on all their names? Nightcrawler or bloody what's her name? Mystique or all of these people. Mate, I'm really bad with names today. Patrick Stewart as Professor Xavier or Ian McKellen as Magneto. You can't have all of these people and not have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I'm sorry, you just can't. So I was always kind of thinking it, and now they've shown Deadpool there. He's got to be there. Hugh Jackman's got to be there. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know if they're going to show that in a trailer or if they're going to leave it to the movie, but I would bet good money that Hugh Jackman's going to be in it as Wolverine, and I'll be very, very happy to see that. Yeah, but other than that, it was pretty much just them kind of with the cast talking about stuff. They did the little Deadpool gimmick, and then they showed something. They said footage before they showed it, but then afterwards, like, I think the trailer did leak out. I didn't personally see it, but it was actually a trailer. And it was a bit more of a like, whereas that first trailer, was kind of a teaser, not too much story, a bit of a taste of what's going on, some cool scenes and that. But this one seemed like a bit more of a story trailer from what I've heard people say. gives you a bit more context about who Doom is, his relationship to certain characters like the Fantastic Four, which obviously he's their villain, so that makes sense. He's got a bit of a past with Sue Storm and Reed Richards, and they kind of explain a bit about him. And then apparently there's all sorts of other bonkers stuff going on in that trailer. They showed that to the crowd in Hall H. They obviously haven't released it yet. I'm guessing they're going to wait a month or two because, I mean, they've only just dropped the first trailer, so they're not obviously going to drop a second one like now. So we're going to have to wait a bit to see that, but it sounded like a bit more context to Doom and obviously plenty more bonkers stuff. And by all accounts, that trailer was actually better than the first trailer, which I was getting me pretty excited because I quite liked the first one, as you can probably saw if you watched the reaction on this channel. You would have seen that I very much enjoyed that trailer. So if that one's better, then I can't wait to see that. But yeah, and that seemed to be where they wrapped up the Doomsday stuff, and everyone left the stage. And yeah, like I said, this was a short panel because the next thing was the last thing, which is a bit of a shame. But then the panel before them overran. I remember watching a live stream of people kind of getting updates as they were coming in who weren't in the room, and it was like, I think by the time it started, they were like half hour behind. So I don't know if that had something to do with it being so quick. Obviously, they wouldn't have cut out any of the big announcements they were going to make, but maybe that's why they streamlined it down a bit and didn't spend too much time on any one particular segment. So that was the Doomsday thing gone. That's obviously the biggest project, and it's where they spent the most time in the end. And then in true Kevin Feige All H fashion, he comes back out and says, one more thing, like Doctor Strange. One more thing. And that one more thing, he didn't say what it was, but out onto the stage walked a man called Ryan Coogler, who's fresh off the back of sweeping the Oscars with Sinners. Can't really do any wrong. You know, young, good. In terms of like non-veterans, top of the tree filmmaker, coming out on stage for Marvel Studios at Hall H. And that means one thing and one thing only. Ryan Coogler was the director, of course, writer and director of Black Panther, both of those movies. So yeah, this was obviously to announce Black Panther 3. This is something that's been talked about for a while. You know, there's been rumblings about it, about them writing a script and all this kind of thing. And this confirmed it, and it's coming out in December 2028, so just over 2 years away. This is coming out. Yeah, so Black Panther 3 confirmed, which is, you know, good. I mean, I quite liked the first one. The second one wasn't as good. They're not my favorite of the like solo hero franchises in the MCU, but I really enjoyed the first one. I really liked Black Panther in Civil War. That was probably the best of him that I saw personally. Then the second one, Wakanda Forever, wasn't the best, but still enjoyable. But either way, yeah. So he comes out, Black Panther 3, and when they were doing the marketing for Sinners, when he was talking about Sinners, they shot that thing on large format film, like 65, 70 millimeter film, which is it's a similar format to like the 70 millimeter IMAX that they shot the Odyssey in. Now I don't think they're shooting this whole movie on 70 millimeter IMAX because it's very expensive and a real pain to handle because you've got to change the reel of film and stuff so often because of the size of the IMAX film. But they are shooting it on large format film. They're shooting Black Panther 3 on large format film. I don't know if that's going to be 65 mil, 70 mil, or even 70 millimeter IMAX. I doubt that, but they said they're shooting this thing on large format film, which is definitely a first for the MCU, but something I'm happy about because I always feel like films look much nicer when they're shot on film. I know it's a pain to shoot it on film, but I just always feel like movies look better when they're shot on film. So I'm really happy to hear that, and I can't wait to see how that's going to look. So they talked about it a bit. They got Winston Duke back out, M'Baku, and they got Shuri Letitia Wright back out, and they had a little talk about it. However, there was still one more thing, and that one more thing was that we are getting a new Black Panther. Now, obviously, tragically, the original Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman, passed away quite suddenly, actually, a number of years ago. And out of respect at the time, they chose not to recast him, which at the time I agreed with, and I think everyone agreed with it. That's the respectful thing to do. Don't recast. We'll just move in a different direction. I think because everyone was so hit by the tragedy, like it felt wrong. It felt disrespectful almost to recast him at that time, and I think that's true. I think at that time it would have been the wrong thing to do. I think as time went on, and the grief and the sort of the shock of it all sort of settled in a bit, I think most people agreed that maybe he should have been recast. And late, in hindsight, I actually probably would have preferred that personally. But I understand obviously why they didn't want to do it out of respect for Chadwick and for his family and everything. So, with that being said, there is a new Black Panther, and it's not Shuri, because Shuri was the main Black Panther in the second movie after Chadwick passed away. So, this new Black Panther. Now, for a second, I thought they might be actually recasting T'Challa, but they're not doing that. They're not doing that. I think at this point in time, I probably would have preferred that, but they've gone with T'Challa's son, who we saw at the end of Black Panther 2. It's T'Challa's son. Can't remember his name. Don't know if it's T'Challa Jr. or whatever. In Black Panther 3, he kind of comes of age, the young kid, and becomes the new Black Panther, which that actually indicates a bit of a time jump. Could be something to do with Doomsday and Secret Wars there. Quite a hefty time jump if he ages up that quick, but we'll see about that. So then the big question was who's going to play him? There's a lot of talk. There was a lot of talk about different actors. The main one that I saw was Damson Idris. Been in loads of stuff. He was in F1 last year. Great actor, and he's a good British kid as well. So I would have been happy with that. But it was not Damson Idris like a lot of people thought, and some people would have even preferred maybe. Now, the person they went with is someone a lot of people didn't even think of at all. But once they said it, now all of us are like, oh, wow. And that's actually a really good pick. It is. He's a man by the name of David Johnson. Now, I didn't know this man's name, actually, but I had seen him in a film called Alien Romulus. Now, I loved the Alien movies, and I loved Alien Romulus. It wasn't as good as the original, obviously, but I really liked that movie. And he is the standout performance as the, what are they called? Androids? Humanoids? I can't remember what they're called in humanoids, androids, replicant. That's Blade Runner. I don't know. Either way, whatever the android thing in Alien Romulus is called, he was it, and he was brilliant in the film. Apparently, he was in The Long Walk, which came out fairly recently as well. I haven't seen that film. I never got around to it, so I can't speak to his performance in that. But by all accounts, he's really good in that movie, and he's really good in Alien Romulus. Really, really good. So now, yeah, it was David Johnson is the new Black Panther in the MCU. I mean, now it's not, like I said, it wasn't a name that a lot of people would have thought of initially, but off their own back. But now that it's been said, I'm like, yep, all day long. He's got it. I can see it already. And he's a good British kid, so that's what we like. The Brits coming to take over Hollywood as usual. Yeah, we love to see that. So yeah, David Johnson, the new Black Panther in Black Panther 3, coming out in December 2028. And then there's also a question, could he pop up in Secret Wars near the end maybe? Is that where the time jump's going to be? Is that how he's going to be older all of a sudden? So yeah, a lot of questions. Don't know when we're going to see him first, if we're going to see him first in Black Panther 3 or if he's going to pop up in the Avengers. But I am really happy about that casting. I couldn't have, no notes at all. There was one thing I was expecting. If they were going to talk about Black Panther 3, I thought we were going to hear about Denzel Washington. Because Denzel himself said, when talking about future projects, that Ryan Coogler was actually writing a role for him in Black Panther 3. Now, Denzel is one of my all-time favourite actors, as he is for a lot of people. I love Denzel Washington. So when I heard he was going to be not only coming to the MCU, but obviously be in Black Panther, I was like, sold. I'm in already. Don't know anything about the film. It's not even been written. I'm in. If Denzel's there, I'm in. That's how it works for me. If Denzel's in a movie, I am in. I'm in, you see. So now, he didn't come out on stage. There was talk that he was actually in San Diego. So I think a lot of people were expecting him to be at Hall H that day. and maybe come out on stage. I mean, the reaction would have been massive if he had come out on that stage. But either way, he wasn't there. So we don't really know if he is still going to be in it or not. I really hope he is, though. I really hope he is, because just think about the kind of thing that he can bring to the kind of class he can bring to a Marvel project. Like that term, classes up the joint. He classes up the joint. He elevates the material and he elevates the people around him. So I really hope he's in it, and I do wish he came out on stage because the reaction would have been absolutely bonkers. But yeah, that's all we know. Black Panther 3 is being shot on large format film. Winston Duke will return as M'Baku. Letitia Wright will return as Shuri, and David Johnson from Alien Romulus and from The Long Walk will be playing the new Black Panther, T'Challa's son. We don't know about Denzel yet, but please, I really hope he's still in it. And that was it. And that was the end of Marvel's panel at Hall H. It was, I think it clocked in about 35, 36 minutes. Very short. I think this is the shortest one they've ever done. I think they've been up there for well over an hour before, just dropping announcements and logos and castings and all sorts of stuff. So it's definitely short this time, but that's obviously because they've got less projects in the pipeline. Kevin Feige himself has talked about about reducing the quantity to up the quality, which is exactly right. It's exactly right. As soon as Marvel started trying to do too much, the quality nosedived off a cliff. They started trying to do, 4 or 5 Disney Plus shows a year, as well as 4 films a year, and you just saw the quality just nosedived completely. And that's how we got things like, I don't know, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, or The Marvels, or Thor: Love and Thunder. Just poor films. And that's not what we're used to with Marvel Studios. For 10 years, they reigned over Hollywood, and it was just banger after banger after banger after banger, $1 billion film, $1 billion film. And if it wasn't hitting $1 billion, it was 800, 900 million. They could not put a foot wrong. And you just knew when you went in there, you were going to get a banger. And that kind of went away. And that's kind of how I fell out of love with the whole thing. And I've also, I'm a lot older now than I was then as well. So there's also that. Maybe these films aren't as much for me anymore. I don't know. We'll find out. Because if everyone else loves Doomsday and I don't, then that's probably that probably tells you all I need to know. But I'm still excited. I'm getting back on the hype train a little bit. Mainly because I've just wanted to see Doctor Doom, and I know that's where we're leading to. So that's kind of keeping me alive in this Marvel thing. I think they could have done a bit more with this. I think they could have done a bit more, because a lot of people, I don't know if, some of you may know this, some of you don't, to get into Hall H, altogether, you probably have to queue for about 36 hours to get in there. Day and night, you have to take it in shifts and camp out there and all sorts of stuff, all sorts of crazy stuff just to get in to see this panel. And it was 35 minutes long. I mean, if it was me, I would have been quite disappointed at that. No, I wouldn't have been disappointed at what they showed, but I just think there could have been a bit more. So that's a shame for the people who waited, because it's like if you stay up till 5, 6 in the morning to watch a fight and it's over in the first round, you're like, really? I stayed up for that. You know what I'm saying? So I do feel for the people who waited for it a little bit. And I wasn't underwhelmed, again, because I didn't sit there and wait for 36 hours, and they've got some cool stuff. But it wasn't as good as it has been. But again, there's less projects, and they're all focusing on Doomsday right now. So that's what it is. But yeah, man, there was some good stuff there, and I enjoyed watching the clips back. I always enjoy watching the crowd reactions because they're always good. If you want to see the footage of it, you can go and find it on YouTube. But yeah, I'm going to wrap it up there. That is the movie news. Obviously, just talked about pretty much one topic this time because, like I said, it's been a slow week or two in the world of movies. But I'm going to keep doing these as topics roll in as and when. Don't know if it'll be a weekly thing. It just depends if there's stuff to talk about. But there's still obviously going to be reactions and reviews as well. Namely, as this goes out, I think this will be coming out on Wednesday, and that means I will be seeing Spider-Man Brand New Day later today, and I can't wait. It's been ages since been to see a really excellent, a showstopper of a Marvel movie, even though Fantastic Four and stuff were okay. It wasn't like, I didn't walk out of that theater thinking, like ready to go. That's what I'm after. So I'm going to go and see Spider-Man Brand New Day tomorrow at the Odeon in London, Leicester Square. It's where they do all the most of the UK premieres. It's a big, grand theatre with a super duper laser projected screen, and it's got it's like a theater almost, so it like a theater. It's got the seats on the floor, and it's got a balcony as well with loads of seats up there. I saw Last Jedi in there before at midnight. It was crazy, cheering and all sorts of stuff. So I'm hoping there'll be a good atmosphere in there as well. Can't wait to see that. So watch out for the review, because that'll be coming pretty soon after I've seen the movie. It's a 9:30 p.m. showing, so it's a late one. So I'll definitely film the reaction to it, or like review of it when I get home from the showing. And yeah, hopefully get it edited ASAP so I can get my thoughts up. But I'm really looking forward to that. And there will be a review for the Odyssey coming soon. I have got tickets for the 4th of August, which is today being if it's the 29th, that will be 6 days away. That is the earliest screening I could get for a 70mm IMAX 70mm at the BFI IMAX in London, though. It's the best place in the UK to see the movie, and it was worth waiting for. Can't say it was worth waiting for because I haven't seen the movie yet. I have a feeling it's going to be worth waiting for. So look out for that as well. And I'm sure when more trailers drop, there'll be more reactions as well. But yeah, other than that, thank you for joining us. If you got this far, I'm impressed, because this is the longest video I've done by a long way. If you have stuck around to the end, I very much appreciate it. Please, if you feel like it, leave a like. If you want to jump in the comments, talk about any of the stuff that I talked about today, or any of this Marvel shenanigans, or if you want to talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about in the comments, within reason, feel free. And if you want to push the boat out, maybe subscribe to the channel. I think the buttons, where's the button? Where we at? Where we at? Down there somewhere. There's a little subscribe button. You can hit that if you want. We're building. Obviously, it's early days. If you look on the channel, you'll see there's only there'll be 4 videos, including this one. So not many, but if you want to jump on early and say you were there, feel free. Hit that button. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you in the next one. I'll be back with something soon. I'll be back with the Spider-Man review. Look out for that. Brand new day review is coming, and it will be coming very, very soon. But yeah, thank you for joining me today. I hope you had fun with this discussion, and I will see you next time. See you later.